Listen, first-time listener, or you've been here the whole damn time. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, giddy up, let's go, no notes.
That's my baby. That's my baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored! They did it!
Slap.
What the hell was that? Oh, yeah!
What the f*** are you talking about?
All right, folks, welcome. It's Monday night. This is the Sports Hounds. You know what to do. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn those notifications on. I'm Rob Brinkman. With me along, as always, Brad Ryer, former Major Leaguer Doug Mankiewicz. Each and every Monday, we are brought to you by Baggio's Breads. Baggio's Breads is located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, home of the best stuffed breads, tomato pies, sandwiches, cutlets, and meatballs. Mention A2D Radio for 10% off your in-store purchase. Now open 9 to 3 every Sunday. Get your football needs better serviced right there at Baggio's Breads in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram. Download us wherever you get your podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, iTunes. Eagles bye week. A lot of good teams on bye week. Figure we do a MLB offseason preview show. Leading off tonight, we got to give credit where credit is due. The Texas Rangers, the World Series champions, brings us to Bruce Bochy. Our poll question, Bruce Bochy is the greatest manager of all time. Brad, you're a spoiled Yankees fan, so I'll kick this to you first. Bruce Bochy, greatest manager of all time? Excellent turnaround.
No, but he hasn't won. He hasn't won the most championships of all time. But as far as in the last 50 years, yes. Depends how far you want to go back. I mean, Casey Stengel from 49 to 63 won 10 championships. So, Joe Torre won 4 and 5 years. So, it's all relative, Rob. Yeah, what has Bochy won? 4 now?
4.
Okay. So, you could make the argument about Joe Torre. Yeah. There's still a lot. Who was managing the Giants? Bochy managed the Giants, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, Whitey Herzog did a nice job. Red Shayandies with the Cardinals back in the 60s was really good. You go back to the Oakland days of the 70s. Dick Williams was a really good manager. I mean, there have been some real good managers in the past. The greatest of all time, no, but again, if he wins a couple more, then I think you can definitely talk about that. But I mean, you have to remember Joe Torre, Casey Stengel, Joe McCarthy. I mean, there's been a lot of championships won in a row and lots of teams with great streaks. I mean, Connie Mack back in the 30s when he had the Philadelphia A's. I mean, those teams used to kick the shit out of the Yankees when they had Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig. So, there's something to be said about that too. If you go back in time, I mean, I know it's a long time ago, but the Philadelphia A's won how many championships when they were in Philadelphia?
A lot.
Yeah, a lot is damn right. I mean, they were the Yankees back then. So, and he was a manager for what, 40 something years. So it's certainly debatable. You could throw his hat in the ring, but I wouldn't put him there just yet.
I mean, he had some horses this year in Texas, but I mean, when he was the manager of the Giants, I mean, he just had a rough and tumble ball club that he just took. I mean, I don't think he ever had the most talented team in San Francisco for any of those rings, any of the 3 rings he won there. He had terrific guys that played a role, and Buster Posey was really good. He had dogs like Brandon Crawford and Brian Wilson and Sergio Ramo and Brandon Belt, and I think Hunter Pence was on one of those teams.
Yeah,
Phillies fans know.
They also had Bum too.
They had Bumgarner. They had Matt Cain. He's always had great pitching, but great
pitching. What's scary about Texas is that they did this without DeGrom, and with Scherzer not really all that effective. And you got to think Scherzer will probably bounce back and be a little healthier next year. And we'll see about DeGrom, but God forbid if he's healthy. I mean, that American League, we're gonna have a tough time beating that team.
Who, the Yankees?
Any team. No, the Yankees too. The Yankees are going to improve in this offseason. They'll make some changes.
They can't get worse.
82-80 isn't that bad, Doug. Come on.
It's
not like they were 64-98. I mean,
they should have been.
I mean, they look.
I think it's 80-82.
They had was the worst team they've had since 1982 for sure. I mean, I'll give you that. Well, in 1990 they were pretty bad too. But I mean, look, they had a lot of injuries last year too. Let's not forget that. That certainly doesn't help. But the Yankees also have some money that they can spend. You know, and they can go out and bring in a couple of players and try to improve the team. I mean, that's what usually happens in the offseason.
Doug, what do you think about Bruce Bochy? I mean, this team lost. I believe they lost 100 games last year. Now they're World Series champions. Really the only.
To call him the greatest, I'm gonna have to say no. I will say he's probably the best, if not he's in the discussion of the best playoff manager. I think it gets. What
about TK, Doug?
He's over. Oh, I'm getting there. He's overrated. He's underrated. I think he's more of like. I'm looking back at like teams that he had in San Diego that had no business going to the World Series, and they made it. Like some of the, like you said, you go over those. They had a lot of San Fran teams. Bumgarner, obviously, Posey were superstars, but like Aubrey Huff, Pat Burrell, they can flat out hit. But everybody that went there played well. Freddie Sanchez. I'm trying to think of Marco Scutaro. Like he is the king of getting really good players in position to be successful in October. I'll always go back to Joe Torre. Winning in New York is the hardest thing to do. And wearing the Yankee uniform as a manager is about as hard as it ever gets. I don't care what kind of club you have. Tony La Russa, we left him out. There's like Tom Kelly. Like to this day, I've never seen anyone run a game or a bullpen better than Tom Kelly. He didn't have the horses that everybody else did, but he used the guys correctly. If not every time, most of the time. And appreciate it later in my career than I did when I was there. But looking back, he made a lot of really good moves. And it was the right move, whether they worked out or not, it doesn't matter, but the move was great. But you have to, Bochy just has something in him where those guys, how hard it is what they just pulled off, Texas, I'm talking about, to have your heart ripped out, knowing you're going to have to go from Seattle all the way to Tampa, knowing you've led the division the entire season, and then get there. And okay, the playoffs start tomorrow, and have them be able to flip the switch and be like, all right, we're good. Doesn't matter how we get in, we got in. And you're upset, take it out on them. And they just never stop. So, a combination of that, people always talk about that calming effect he has. That's great and all, but you better have the players behind. You could tell they had a demeanor about that team. That was the perfect storm. Corey Seager, Simeon, those guys just they're quiet, confident, and they just they fit each other really well. And you have to tip your cap to what they did to be able to go on the road as much as they did and win as many games they did. It's Boch, to be able to relate. Another thing where I think we're leaving out here is the fact that Bochy had players in the late 90s, mid 90s. And now he still relates to the kids and the players' kids. Sorry, the players in 2023, and they come in and work. That's not easy to do. Like he was almost the outsider coming into being the manager, and they all bought in. That's not easy to do. That's not easy to do in any sport, in any job, to be able to pull that off, man. It was, he said he wins a few more. He's definitely going to be in the conversation for as many as he won, but I think he's done a better job at some of the years he hasn't won and gotten there than he has. But when he gets in, he seems to make a long run.
You talked about Tom Kelly and managing the bullpen. He was the best you've ever seen. Like, what traits in a manager? Like, how do you become good at managing a bullpen? Because we see guys with the analytics today, and they're terrible at it. You know, we haven't had my beer.
There's a knack to it. I mean, there's a lack of a better term. You got to manage like with your balls out. I mean, you're about to get hammered if it doesn't work, and you don't care. It's just a feel, and that's the hardest part for baseball purists versus the analytics. Yeah, we look at numbers. I'm more of a, you could call it more of a purist, more of a gut guy than I am an analytic guy. We still use numbers, but I also go off of, at least when I manage, I went off of what I'm looking at. Like I viewed it as a hitter, I viewed it as a defender, and I was like, hey, like there's some, like, I think if I take them out here, I'm doing them a favor. So there's that kind of feel. Your guys who can handle it. You spend the most time with them, and that's what I think gets lost in the shuffle. Boch didn't do everything by the analytics, and it worked in the long run. I think Topper's another one that sometimes you scratch your head because it doesn't really have a backing to it, but there's also a sense of where it's a shame that we're in an era of sports where you just can't say when you ask a manager after the game, I had a hunch. That's not going to fly anymore. To a front office, it's not going to fly anymore to a fan base because everybody's so numbers driven. But, because they never ask you the question when it works. They only ask you the question when it backfires.
Right. Texas, he's going to have a chance here to get a couple more. I mean,
you just got to remember who they lose, because you always got to figure there's injuries, right? I don't think Montgomery's going to re-sign with them. That's a big blow. Obviously, we're getting DeGrom back.
But if they get DeGrom, it makes up.
Yeah, but DeGrom hasn't exactly been. You can't. I always feel like until you see that, he's going to be really, obviously, really close to where he used to be. It's more of a workload thing. So now this is where I'm going with this. Late October runs tend to have a lack of a better term, hangover effect on your guys, especially your pitchers. I don't care if they throw 200 innings or not. I mean, hell, I heard Zach Gallen say something about it. I don't really like pitching this late in this many innings. I was like, you're pitching in a World Series game, and that's how you answer that? Like, I don't get it. Like, but I always felt like, at least, if I know they asked me a question managing when I was interviewing for the Twins job, and it was kind of brought up, if we made a late run in the postseason, say we got to the World Series and won or lost, what would you change in spring training? And I said, well, like my top two, if not three guys, I'm not going to have them pick up a ball, or they're going to throw pens leading into April, not being ready to pitch in April. And it was kind of a double-edged kind of a question where I was like, I want our obviously everybody wants their farm system good enough to where we can roll out their starter 6, 7, 8 and still compete in April. My point being that I didn't really want my guys I wanted them taking the same amount of time off they normally would without an October run, and then just back them up. And that way they're getting the same rest that they were getting and accustomed to getting every other year.
So you want your ace and your number two to make their first start in early May.
Yeah. For example, if the Phillies went to the World Series, which they pretty much did last year, they did.
Yeah, they pitched.
They did pretty much this year, going 7 games. I would back Zach Wheeler up. I would talk to him about it and be like, this is what I'm thinking. Whether he goes with it or not, he's proven otherwise that he can handle it. But that's back-to-back years with deep playoff runs. You can do it for 1. It's hard when you do it for 5. That's what makes the Yankees – got to get off topic, but the Yankees runs for all those years. When they had older pitchers, they had David Wells, David Cohn. Pettit was young, but They kept – I think back to the White Sox in 2005. All of those guys. Burley was the only one that came out in 06 that, to me, had remotely close to the same stuff. Freddie Garcia's stuff was significantly different. Like Garland's stuff was almost more movement-oriented than it was. But all those guys threw 250 innings. They've never done it before. And Burley was used to throwing 200. But, like, you could tell as a hitter, their stuff, they're just – I mean – you're not immortal. Like it takes that rest matters. So, that to me is something that I'm wondering why someone hasn't done it because we don't have, the Astros do, but the Astros, they kind of, outside of Verlander and maybe Cole when he was over there, did they have pitchers that went deep into games anyways? I mean, Framber is about as good as had a rough one this year, but generally, the last 4 or 5 years, he's been one of their best weapons on the mound, and he quite, that he hasn't really gone deep in the game. So I'm curious to see if someone ever does that they do it with injury. So why don't you prevent one from backing them up and having them go into the season in May?
So to piggyback what you said, right? Is it fair to say that guys like Javier and Framber, perhaps, all the innings they pitched last year, winning that World Series against the Phillies. Okay. I think maybe, and I mean, they've been throwing a lot of pitches for the last couple of years now. Do you think it caught up with them a little bit towards the end of the season? Because their pitching got bombed.
But I mean, Javier got hit once. I mean, like he had a no-hitter going outing before. So I think that's the luxury of a long series. You see the guy more than once, and deception. I always say deception only works one time through the order, or maybe a game. You face the guy at his next start. I don't want to hear about deception. You know what you just saw it 4 days ago. You know what it's going to do. Like there's no excuse for that. So, so that's that's kind of how. I mean, that's where it's key, though. Like you see, like I think that's a huge reason why obviously Astros have been built for this. But you look at Houston, how they're built. They had two older guys right at the top. They had a Verlander. They had a Cole. I won't say older, but experienced power guys.
Dallas Keuchel for a while too.
For a while, right? And then like the back end was that a Framber type, right? A Javier. They're younger. They can withstand it. So you kind of get them going. Now it's like you can, if that's the way it goes, you could kind of back up, say the Astros made a long run and you had Cole and you had Verlander at their stages right now. You back them up, right? Back them off. Then all of a sudden this is how you gain innings with your back end guys. Javier, if you want to maybe trying to stretch them out or become more of a starter or a Framber, like you have guys like that maybe haven't had a chance to, have a lot of innings. You go ahead. They're young. Let them get their innings. Let them take their lumps early. That way, by the time you guys get to October, you've got a well-oiled machine, and you have rested horses, and you've got guys with experience.
What year? Just to go back to the Twins manager question. What year were you asked that? What year did you interview for that job?
2013. It was right before. It was the year Paul Molitor got it. They let Gardy go. It was
How did that?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
It was me, Tony Lavello, and Paul Molitor.
And how did that answer go over in the interview?
I think I stumped a few of them. They were just kind of like, huh? And I think it was more of me not explaining it that well.
I think if you said that in an interview today, it would go over really well.
It was like a 9-hour thing. I was there all day. And that's the thing too. Like I was hesitant to even say anything about it because I didn't want to. I feel like to get a job now, you have to almost say something like that to make them think that you're like overthinking. And obviously the Twins interview was a little bit different for me than it was the brief glimpse I had at other ones. They knew me already. I met them when I was 21 years old. Like I was a 21-year-old player for them. So they watched me grow and they watched me grow up and they watched me my whole career. And then I came back as a manager for them in the minor league. So like Like if you're asking me questions now, like you've been around me for like a quarter of my life, you know what the answers I'm going to give you. So that was kind of let's put it this way, I was a lot more, let's say, relaxed probably than it would be if I went and interviewed for, I don't know, the Marlins job or even the Marlins job, or even like if I went and interviewed for the Rockies, it'd be way different.
Doug, how does a guy like Joe Espada, who was the most clueless third base coach I've ever seen in my life, how does that guy have a manager's job?
I don't know.
He was, I mean, listen, I saw him with the Yankees, okay, and this guy was it's not even close, the worst third base coach I had ever seen in my life.
If you've never coached third, you don't realize how hard it is.
Nope. Yeah, but nobody they stopped listening to him after the first season, and they still kept him around for 2 more years. He sent slow guys.
Did he ever coach the Marlins?
Espada?
Yeah, in the minor leagues.
I think he may have.
I'll tell you what. I think Oh yeah, he did. I remember that because I was.
He may have. Yeah.
That's the only way I remember. My last year was 2010. I got picked up by them for 2 weeks. And he was the GCL manager, the Gulf Coast League manager. And that's how I met him. So it's crazy. It's 13 years ago, more than that, 20 years ago, 10, 13, can't count. But I don't know. I mean, from what I understand, he's super well respected by people around the game. I was only around him briefly, and I'm sure I wasn't the most friendliest of person because they were having me do stuff. Like I'm 36, and no offense, like 1 Gold Gloves, and I'm getting told like how to do something by a minor league fielding coordinator who's 24, and I got a GCL manager who's not even. And I'm just like I was already in the big leagues when you guys were in college. So like, no offense, the day I can't field a ground ball is the day I go home. But I can field a ground ball. I'll be 75, and I can still out defend most big leaguers. So I don't get arrogant about anything offensively, but defensively, like no, I'm not gonna. And it's not that I'm not coachable. It's just because no, I'm not gonna take too much from you because I've missed more ground balls than you fielded. So the major league level. So just back up, dude. I got this. Yeah. The day I can't catch a ground ball is the day I won't be here. So that was my only interaction with. And the next day I was on a plane to Omaha to go to AAA. So that never went over really well.
Let's get some comments here. Kyle Kramer checking us out on Facebook. Went to a Kansas, Missouri basketball game years ago. Was having beer at a bar before the game. Bochy and Rick Sutcliffe walk in, sat next to us. Great conversation with them. Bought a pitcher of beer for us. This was when Bochy was with the Giants. Bonds just retired. He kind of worked around my questions about Bonds.
I will say this. I hung out with him because Brian Buchanan was a really good friend of mine. He played for him in San Diego. And we used to go to the Garth Brooks Foundation. It was a charity, and Garth would have a end of the year party for us, and one would be in Vegas or it would be his house in Nashville, and it was basically like who's who of the sporting world. And we were in Garth's suite playing pool, and Bochy was there, and I'll never forget this: me, Bruce Bochy, John Elway, and Brian Buchanan. And I never laughed so hard for as long as I could, just listening and just listen to what he said. It's dry, it's quick, but it's witty, but it's spot on. And it was a night that I'll take to my grave just because of being able to interact with something like that. You see him on TV, you look at him one way, but when you get to kind of hang out with him, it makes you realize these guys are almost lack of a better term, real. And you can sit there and have a beer with them and rip on each other and have some good time. So I was blown away because Brian always spoke so highly of him, and I never got a chance to be around him, and I take Brian's word for it. So that doesn't surprise me that he sent him a pitcher of beer and he was good to talk to.
Ryan Swoop, Doug, why don't teams focus on the style of the Red Sox? The Red Sox never seem to be a team Top 8 in home runs, but also they never lack power. They always lead the league by a wide margin in doubles. They also always tops in hits, runs, on-base percentage, pitches seen, walks to strikeouts. Players will hit nearly 2 times the amount of doubles to home runs. I mean, they win 75 games every year, Ryan. I mean, you really want to do things like a team that wins 75 games a year? I'll take your word on the stats because I don't have those in front of me.
Well, the doubles. There's a good reason for the doubles. I mean, left field has a fence which is 315 feet from home plate. So let's be honest. If you play it right, it's going to be a double.
I thought the same thing till I played there. I mean, I think that thing takes away more doubles than it adds at times. It turns more outs into doubles and more doubles into singles, if that makes sense. Like if it hits a letter or a number on the scoreboard, it's a quirky park. It's big and right center. I wouldn't say that the Red Sox problem has been offensively in the last couple of years. No, it just seems like it's on the mound, and it goes back to that's how they were made in 04 and 03. They had guys that. A lot of guys hit 20. Obviously, adding Manny and David in the middle of the order was huge. But you look at guys like Trout and Nixon, Johnny, Damon, Kevin.
Bill Miller
was a batting
champion.
Todd Walker was on the 03 team. So Veritek, they all hit 20 plus home runs. But they had they were in that, lack of a better term, that money ball, that kind of. We're going to walk. We're going to put pressure on people, and they're doing that now. Verdugo I was looking at Verdugo's numbers. It's funny on the way here, and I'm right before I left. I was like, man, I still expect more from him than what he's giving, but it's a philosophy. I think you take on. I think Alex Cora being there is huge for them. Like he's not a I would think Alex doesn't really want a bunch of mashers. At the end of the day, I feel like I always go back to the year the Royals won the World Series. They were, and that was one of the questions. It ties into what Ryan's talking about. Was they asked me what kind of in my managerial interview? They asked me what kind of offense I would want. I said I want the Royals, and they were like, "What do you mean?" I go, "I want strong, athletic guys who are multi-talented with a bat." And like, what does that mean? Well, people think like, oh, we got to have power. Yeah, power's great. But most power hitters were good hitters before they had power. And that's, you look at what he's talking about, it's like there's more ways to score runs. You got to be multifaceted as an offense. Everybody that has a bat in their hand at the major league level can hit a home run. They've done it their whole life. They might not do it at the major league level, but they've done it to get there. And I just thought like that Royals team was super athletic. They could drive the ball to right field. They could hit and run. They all could steal a base, and they all could go deep. And that's kind of what made that team click. And I think too many times guys are getting away from that. And I think with this whole rule change and the stolen base things and not being able to throw over, I think you can slowly start to bring it back a little bit. But I don't see the Red Sox changing their philosophy offensively. I think they've kind of gotten snake bitten on the mound the last couple of years. Hopefully they can kind of make a couple moves to shore up, and hopefully guys, and Chris Sale, hopefully he stays healthy for once because he's had a really rough go the last couple of years. Strange stuff.
Yeah,
he's manager.
That one year he comes back after Tommy John. He pitches one great game, then goes into Yankee Stadium, and somebody, I can't remember who it was, somebody hit a line drive
off his elbow.
Mm-hmm. Huh?
It broke his hand.
Yeah. That may have been the most bizarre of all.
And then he took a line drive of his elbow, like the next time he came back. It's like, just poor guy.
What did you do that God hates you so much?
Yeah, it's bad. It's a bad deal.
Yes,
bad deal.
Yes. So there's a host of good, and I want to get into this a little bit, Doug. There's a host of real good free agent pitching out there, which obviously, I think when it comes to the Yankees, the Phils, if you want to go like the Twins as well, The Mets, the Braves also. There's a lot of really good pitchers out there who are going to be free agents. Who I should say already are free agents right now. What do you think of this guy, the guy Yamamoto? Because I've seen him some of his highlights. He has one hell of a split finger, man. Oh,
the biggest concern about bringing Japanese guys over is they throw every 6 days, and they don't throw every 5. So yes, they've had success. Dice K had success, but that's everybody's.
Kuroda was good too.
Kuroda was good.
Nova was good.
Darvish took a while, but his stuff has never been questioned. It's a question mark. It's not just one day. It's one day every 5th day. So it's like those add up after a while. I think by now these guys are so athletically gifted coming from over there, and they've had their busts, but the ones that have come have almost been game-changing generational players. You have Ichiro, you have Shohei, and about as far as free agent goes, it's interesting to find out like if your team doesn't make a move this year, it may be because who's coming out the following year. So I think too many times fans and they don't realize like when you walk into a general manager's office, there's a giant think fantasy football draft on steroids. Yeah. Like that's exactly the board you're looking at. You're looking at your own team, your own organization, and then you're looking at free agents. You're looking at it's
Japan,
not only a
Latin America.
It's a fantasy football draft, but it's 4 years down the road, 3 years down the road, and you're looking at who we may, you're looking at your money that's freeing up. You're looking at, okay, like that's the guy I really want. He's not available for 2 more years. I don't want to pick anybody up to get his way or vice versa. I got to start building. Maybe this is where we go, like what the Rangers did, right? They go get Simeon, they go get Corey the same time. And people are like, what? Like, what's he doing? Like, you're still going to lose 100 games. And he knew that. But he went and got the pieces because you can't get it all at one time. You're going to have to take it year to year. And the speech and the pitch they gave him worked like a charm. And that's kind of where you're at. But, like, that's kind of where, I'm looking at the Phillies thing, the Phillies today, like looking at it when we got the sheet for the topic. It's like, who do you replace Nola with? Is he going to go somewhere else? The money that frees up for that, okay. The Hoskins.
How much is Nola going to get paid?
A lot.
Is he going to be a $200 million pitcher?
Depends on the years. It depends on the years.
I mean, personally, I wouldn't pay him $200 million. I think. I don't
think he's getting 200, but I think he's going to get.
He's going to get between 160 and 180 for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, I didn't think the guy that you guys signed last year, the Yankees signed last year, was worth it. Rodon wasn't worth it either, but they gave him 160. So
yeah, and he got hurt, and then he never really found his form last year.
I mean, people forget Nola was the guy. He was 4 or 5 years ago. He was the hype around that kid. To have that much hype coming in and still be able to do what he's done. He hasn't. I think that's why I get called negative a lot. Like, as a manager in the minor leagues, I got called well, I'm always on the downside of guys. Well, let's be pleasantly surprised. Let's not put so much expectations on these guys where if they're outside of a purple and pink unicorn, they're not going to live up to what we've pumped them up to be. But you can play around with going back to the Philly thing. Thought about this, the guy. If I'm kicking the tires on Juan Soto.
I think everybody would be kicking the tires.
Of course. But I'm thinking do you dangle Nick? In fact, I've read some things where he's on the trade block. He might not, but I think everybody gets.
Yeah, everybody. I hope Nick's back. I don't want Nick.
I'm just saying, if you're going to pull off a Juan Soto, you're not just going to be able to throw him a bunch of prospects. There's going to have to be somebody significant. I mean, Juan's a little different situation because the Padres are borrowing money to pay their payroll. But
Juan's also only 25 years old.
Right, that's the difference. He's damn near a free agent, and he's 24. So like he hasn't even quote gotten into his prime yet. So I think for everybody involved, no matter where he goes, Juan Soto will be better next year to get him away from that whatever they got going on in San Diego. Never a manager that works. Never whether it's the ball boy they had a couple years ago. What the hell his name was? Chase Twindler or whatever his damn name was. They had that dude running the team. He was a waste of time. Then you bring in those guys like I just don't think that like that combination of what's out there is really conducive for him because he seems like when he came from Washington, it seemed like he was like a kind of a grinder with superstar talent. Now you start putting him with the wrong group, and it just I don't know much about San Diego, but I have a feel like watching it. It looks like a lot of me. A lot of me.
It does look like a lot of me.
A lot of a whole lot of me, and that's why it don't work. So, no, it just depends on who they replace Nola with.
Well, there's Sonny Gray too.
Yeah,
Montgomery.
I think
those two are downgrades from Aaron Nola. I mean, I'm sorry. I know Philly likes to get on. I know Philly likes to get on Aaron Nola because he wasn't, the tip-top Cy Young candidate that he's been in years past this year in a contract year. But Aaron Nola's a damn good pitcher. He's eaten a lot of innings for this season. And if it takes 160, 170, 180 to bring him back in a Phillies uniform, I'm doing that all day. I'm doing that all day. It's not my money. And then as far as Nick Castellanos goes, I don't understand why he would be on the trade block. I mean, he's the only outfielder in the National League.
Because he went into a slump in the
okay, so did Harper, so did Turner, so did JT Realmuto. You want to get rid of all those guys too?
There's always one
Phillies
player
the Phillies don't need an overhaul. Look, I'm as pissed off as anybody that the Phillies didn't make the World Series. Trust me, I was upset about it for weeks. The fact that this is really the first time I'm talking about it. But this team doesn't need a major overhaul. Like, you need to add a few bullpen pieces and run this thing back. Rhys Hoskins would be my first baseman next year. I got Harper in left. I got Marsh in center. I got Nick in right. I got Kyle DHing. I'm bringing Nola back. I don't care what my payroll is. It's not my money. Like,
yeah, but one thing about Nola is like you could probably get 2 arms for what it's going to cost him.
Did you ever hear the expression quality over quantity?
Would you have liked one more starter in October?
The pitching is not why the Phillies lost, Doug. The pitching was pretty much phenomenal.
I wouldn't go that far.
Back that up. You wouldn't have to go to Game 7 if you didn't have 2 gaping holes in your bullpen.
Yeah, but
in
Game 3, Ranger Suarez was pulled way too early. That bullpen can't get 20. It can't get you 21 outs. I totally agree with that. Would you rather have Wheeler and Aaron Nola, or let's say, for example, someone like go Wheeler, Sonny Gray, Montgomery, and one more reliever? Well, my number one. I mean, why can't I have everything? I'm gonna sound like a Yankees fan for a minute. Why can't I have everything? The Yankees the Mets had a $450 million.
Because there are other teams involved here too who are going to spend money.
Like, why can't I bring back Rhys Hoskins, Aaron Nola, and sign Josh Hader?
Well,
why can't I do that?
Yeah, you could try.
The point is, you can get there's 2 ways to go. You can probably get 2 starters for what's going to cost you for Aaron Nola, or you can re-sign Nola and go get another bullpen piece. Because
if you got Josh Hader, that would be
their bullpen was
dominant.
They got luck. They got what they had. They didn't have much. There were 3 arms short down there, and I guarantee you probably thought Dombrowski's probably thinking, I can get one of these guys at any time. at any time, and he's right. But it's like you look at that bullpen, you're like, ooh, you can't tell me outside of one guy. Every time that door opened, you were like, I don't know what the hell we're gonna get. And even the guy that even the guys you guys had confidence in, the last time he came out, he gave up 3 rockets in a row.
Right? Who are you talking about?
The lefty. You know what I'm talking about?
Alvarado?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, okay. I mean,
I'm just saying every time that bullpen door opened, outside of him throughout the whole postseason, you were like, oh shit, what are we gonna get?
But I mean, that's not like looking for. I'm not going to look back anymore. I'm looking forward about what this team can do to be a World Series champion like the Texas Rangers.
They need 2 or 3 more bullpen pieces, and another starting pitcher. They don't need offense.
I don't agree.
Now they need offense. Right now they need 2 starting pitchers because Nola's not signed.
You have an offense. It went cold in 1 game, 2 games, whatever you want to say. Sometimes good team wins. And like if you play game 6 and 7 10 times, what do you think the Phillies record is? I'm taking the Phillies 9.5 out of 10 times. It just happened to be the one time that they just went cold. Shit happens. But that series was lost in Arizona when
Gabby, what's his name?
The series. It was game 3.
It was when
series was lost in game 3.
It was when Kimbrel blew it. And he didn't really blow it. I mean, like if you want to get nitpicky, and I never blame officials unless it's a Florida State football game. He had 2 calls that could have been called strikes that changes history, and that's the honest to God truth. It's like you wonder why players like have a hard time sleeping, and they get mentally if you're not mentally strong enough. Like I don't know Craig Kimbrel. I don't know him at all. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. I'm just an observer of exceptional talent, right? And I'm sitting there watching it as a baseball fan going, how in the world can he go home in an offseason and know that – and he can't say anything because then he looks like an excuse maker. But here I am sticking up for a guy going, if that call is made on strike 1, the Arizona Diamondbacks don't even go back to freaking Philly. And that's the beauty of this game. And it's also the heartbreak. And so, you just need more pieces. The whole reason why the Rangers won, yes, they hit when they needed to, but they had a couple guys that they weren't really counting on bullpen-wise that got it done. Because they needed it because Scherzer went down. He wasn't available. He wasn't quite himself. And they had 2 guys and their pen was lights out. The weakest link of Texas's was their closer.
Oh, Leclerc, right?
He had a dominating year, but he was if they had a chance to give up 1 run, you're like, I'm betting on the other one. At least I was.
Doug, and this is where I go back to Topper, because you paid Taijuan Walker $17 million a year in the offseason. Instead of using him, you want to tax your bullpen, so it has to get you 20, 19, 17 outs in a game when Ranger Suarez or Christopher Sanchez pitches. It doesn't make any sense. I don't think the Phillies are Phillies are as short on pitching as everyone makes it out to be. I really don't. Because if they hit even a lick in those 2 games, they're going to the World Series.
There's a reason why he didn't pitch. And the only people that can answer that are the people inside those doors.
And they're not going to tell you.
And they're not going to say a word.
They're not going to tell me. They're not going to tell you either.
They're not going to tell anybody. Because as soon as they start bashing him, he loses trade value. His value goes down. But there's a reason why you don't pick the ball up when your team makes it to Game 7 of the NLCS. There is a reason. Most of the time it has to do with trust. And usually it's either it's a trust factor or he's a really, really, really shitty teammate.
But, okay, he's a shitty teammate, but you got what you got. It's fucking October.
You don't mess with karma, buddy. You don't. Oh, you want to send a message?
No, you mess with karma. You're using your fucking 8th inning guy in the 4th inning in 2 of the games out in Arizona.
That's my point. You don't have your bullpen had no roles.
That's
because you wasted 17. Because you wasted $17 million on Taijuan Walker, a sinker ball guy who had 6 good months. That's the reality. That's the reality.
Yeah, he actually, when he was with the Mets.
Yeah, with the Mets, they didn't play a meaningful game in 3 years. That's my point. It's not like the Mets. You can't compare New York to Philly. Not if you're a Met fan, because you don't play under. What meaningful game did he pitch in? He never did. You're the ones that that's the one move that Philly's made. I'm just going, why in the world would you go get that guy? Why?
Because they wanted Jamison Taillon, and he got.
So you just go ahead and blow it on somebody you don't want to use?
Who's going to pitch? You fill out your rotation. That's what. When you don't develop pitching, like the Phillies don't.
$17 million for a shitty.
That's
team?
what it costs to sign a free agent pitcher.
Not a guy like him.
I don't know about that. You overpaid for a guy you didn't want to use, and that hampered your entire team. Something's got. The only 2 reasons why he didn't pitch: either he's really a crappy person and a crappy teammate, and he didn't fit in with everybody else. And there's a lot of times where the players go in there and be like, "If you pitch this guy, we're out." Like that. There's a vibe that comes from bad teammates. Like I remember Carl Pavano when I walked into the Yankee clubhouse, and I looked at him and I was like, and he was real super nice to me. And I heard he was great with Minnesota, but man, I'll tell you what, when that guy walked in and you saw the Yankee veteran guys, it was
they
like
hated him.
I don't even want you looking at me because they obviously don't like you. And I was like, damn, like I don't even want to be seen next to you because like I'm trying to be fit in here, and you're not the guy I want to be talking to because I'm not getting hit with a straight bullet.
The guy was a psychopathical hypochondriac. When he was with the Yankees, something always was bothering him. Yeah. He was afraid. He was so afraid to pitch that I thought he used to make up injuries just to not play.
Well, that was the year that I was on the team the year that all 4 starters went down because they told the pitchers they've got some new guru strength guy who decided to now have the pitchers run in spring training, and all 4 of them went down with a bad hamstring.
Did he get he get in a car accident one year, Carl Pavano, and was out for.
And he didn't tell anybody.
And he didn't tell anybody. Yeah, that was wild.
Right. Yeah, he didn't tell anybody, and he just. There's some guys that are not meant to pitch in New York, Philly, or Boston.
He was one of
guys
them.
like, hey Doug, quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Eduardo Escobar. I wanted to ask you about him. The one on the Twins. That's his name, right? The shortstop, second baseman, third baseman. I've heard that he's available. What kind of, if the Yankees were to say, because I keep thinking my perfect lineup for the Yankees would be move Glaber to left, okay, put LeMahieu back at second, and trade for Escobar to play third base because he's not going to be that expensive, and he's a left-handed hitter and he's got some power.
Switch him.
But is he another guy that's just going to be like Donaldson and get hurt and never play, or do you think he's?
No, he's a gamer. I liked watching him play. He's a good clubhouse guy too. He may not know your name, but he's a good clubhouse guy.
He can hit too.
He didn't know anybody's name, which is hilarious. I coached over there for 3 years, and they pointed at me like, "Who's that?" I'm like, "Coach." I'm like, "That's why I love you." He was great. It was great. I'll go back to what we talked about at the deadline. Would you when I said you guys should get Montgomery? How good did that look now?
Oh, I would take him back in a second.
I wasn't against
I'd take
that.
Him back in a second. He looked like it. He looked like an ace to me.
I just I would love to be. I would love like they do all these damn reality shows. Like they just let them run around Hard Knocks and wherever they want to. Like do a baseball one. Do a trade deadline. Do a trade deadline one. So you want to hear reality? You want to hear I don't think the Player Association would like it because there'd be some prima donnas like crying in their pillow and like, oh, you don't want to be traded, but I think it'd be great. Follow around a GM today.
How does a guy like Montgomery, who's been pitching for the Yankees for how many years, and Rob and I, as long as I've been doing the show with him, I've been saying to him, we're waiting for the year that Jordan Montgomery finally breaks out and has a big year. Why is it that as soon as he gets traded to the Cardinals, then he breaks out? Is it the coaching? Is it a change of scenery? How does that happen?
I don't know. Like, how many pitchers went to the Cardinals back when La Russa was there? And Duncan was the same thing. Like, it was like you can go on and on and on about how many guys that they've turned into absolute, and like even the minor league system, like they draft a certain size and they fit a profile. And my goodness gracious, they all can pitch.
I mean, Waka was a perfect example. He was really good in St. Louis. Then, as soon as he was gone from St. Louis, he
when guys go away from St. Louis, like that's when it's alarming. Guys that start there and they move somewhere else, there's a reason why they're moving on from you.
It's like the Rays. Like the Rays trade these guys.
Wear you out and run and use you up and see you later, alligator. But no,
that brings us up to another guy. What's his name? Blake Snell. He's also a free agent.
He's a 5-inning guy, though.
I wouldn't pay him at all.
He's going to get paid.
Someone, because the Cardinals really need pitching. The Braves look to be hot on another starter. Boston needs pitching. So there's some big time markets that need pitching. So yeah, these guys are.
Boston doesn't like lefties. Boston doesn't.
I don't think I would. If I was Boston, I would not be bringing him in. That would be a disaster.
I wouldn't bring Blake Snell in. Which Blake Snell am I getting? I mean, I don't know if I know they announced Rookie of the Year tonight. There's
Corbin Carroll
and Gunnar Henderson from Rob Povey there, your hockey happy hour compadre. Yeah, both well deserved. But I don't think they announced the Cy Youngs yet, but it's either going to be Strider or Snell. Like I wouldn't be giving Snell
in the American
money.
League. Sonny Gray is right there too. That'd be crazy.
That'll be interesting.
Another guy that couldn't play in New York. Award.
But like, why would I sign if I'm the Phillies? Why would I sign Sonny Gray? He spit the bit in New York. Like, I mean, I know you can't. Doug said you can't compare New York and Philadelphia. I think you can. If you can't pitch in New York, you're not going to be able to pitch in Philly. So, like,
I just threw out Sonny Gray's name. It wasn't like I was. A Shane Bieber, right? Like
when's he going to be able to pitch? He had Tommy John surgery last year.
Didn't stop Verlander from being dominant in his 40s.
I mean, homegrown.
But
there's a lot of pitching out there. There's a lot of decent quality pitching.
There's arms.
Yep.
I don't know. I said it earlier. I'm a huge proponent of bringing back Aaron Nola, and I'm a huge proponent of not trading Nick Castellanos. The Philadelphia Phillies do not need an overhaul. They need to tweak their bullpen, and they need to hit when it matters most, period. And you're in the World Series.
They need bullpen help. They need bullpen arms.
Yeah, they need bullpen.
I think they caught lightning in a bottle with the Kimbrel thing. Like
for much of the season, yes.
It's like why
he's old though.
He's getting. I mean, there's some tread going on them tires.
Yeah, he's been around.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I think there's a spot for him, but like if you expect him to be the guy, I don't know if that's really the role.
He's not going to be back on the team. You're going to have Hoffman. You're going to have Kirkring. You're going to have Alvarado. They just got traded for Josh Fleming from Tampa Bay. He's a guy at least I've seen in the majors. Not saying he's a world beater. And they're going to – well, I mean, they had Bilotti and Dylan Covey at the bat pitching innings for they can't be any worse than those guys.
As far as I'm concerned, Rob, my team, 3 guys. Yamamoto, Hader, Bellinger. Let's go to war. Ready that would be.
I don't see how that puts you over the top and puts you better than Baltimore or Tampa Bay or Toronto.
Okay, well, you get another ace. You get a left-handed hitter who's outstanding.
I do think you guys are going to get Bellinger.
We had a lot of
seems to make a lot of sense.
We did have a lot of injuries last year. I mean, I know that's the classic.
I know you say this every year about your Yankees because they're old and unathletic.
Right, they're old and unathletic.
What's his name? Who's the first base? I can't remember. Rizzo, unfortunately, had a concussion, and they didn't diagnose it. Before he had his concussion, he had I think 13 home runs and 40 RBIs.
What do you think that sends? What message do you think that sends to the free agents? You're
Not
gonna
a
let
good one.
right
about what?
You're gonna let a Gold Glove MVP caliber first baseman play without being diagnosed that you have a head injury. That matters. Like,
of course it matters, but it takes two to tango. Also, he never said that he was having headaches or anything like that either. They just thought his bat slowed down. And then it turns out, he's suffering concussion syndrome, but that doesn't mean he can't come back and be a good player this year.
I didn't say that. I didn't say he can't. I'm just saying,
you
were bashing on him all year, and I was sticking up for him.
You put him back there. You put him in there, and you put Bellinger in there. Most of their problem was
you're banking on that Bellinger's back. Don't forget the 4 years previous he hit 180.
Well, you
could get the MVP guy, or you could get the guy that hit 170 too. Remember that.
Yeah, but he also had an injured shoulder too.
Guys see those dollar signs in contract years though, and they know
they
need to put up.
He didn't have a bad shoulder for 4 years.
They do. I don't know how much he's going to cost.
Barely, he couldn't hit 200. So I'm just saying that's the
look, if he could play in Chicago with the Cubs,
that's a cakewalk.
Huh?
Playing in Chicago is a cakewalk.
Playing in the Midwest is a cakewalk. I've been to Wrigley Field. Everything.
I've been to White Sox Park. Okay, and those fans are pretty nasty in Chicago. Are you telling me Chicago is different? That the White Sox fans are different from
since they won a World Series? Yes, it's actually nice there. But try going there pre-2005.
You can't compare the Midwest. You can't compare the Midwest to the Northeast corridor.
Let's stop it.
Everything, the Cubs, the Cardinals, the White Sox, everything's the greatest.
Yes, they're nice. They're nice people.
They had no expectations.
So Taguchi got a standing ovation when he came back. So Taguchi. He played for a cup of coffee on the Cardinals, and he was on the World Series team. He came back with the Mets. He went back with the Mets and got a standing ovation. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They think everything's the greatest, and ho-hum, gosh golly, we lost today, and maybe we'll get them tomorrow. Oh, man, we haven't won a World Series in 600 years. It doesn't matter. Those people, they're not rabid. They're not rabid sports fans. They're not rabid like the Northeast. I wouldn't put any stock into Cody Bellinger having a good year on the Cubs and translating that to
I think he could play
playing in New York, Philly.
Well, he's got the ability to, but I don't like. That's the crazy part is that it's either going to be that's my biggest concern is the fact that it's either really, really exceptional or it's really, really, really bad. Like there's no.
You're going to put him in center. Like the Yankees are going to sign him to play center field.
Then again, we're talking to someone.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
We're talking about someone's team that he gave Aaron
put him in center field.
Remember that. He gave Aaron Hicks $90 million. That's like opening, roll down your window, go down I-95, and just open up all four windows and let money fly out both sides.
But you can put him in center field, and this is Rizzo's last year with the team. If you let Rizzo go, and he loses a little bit of traction in center field, you can just move him to first base. He's literally a Gold Glove first baseman as well. So I mean, he's also a guy that can play with him.
He's a Gold Glove first baseman when you hit 170. You better catch it. If you hit 170, you better catch it.
Yeah, but this is a guy that also has proven that he can hit too.
Yeah, he's also proven he can hit 170.
Right, when he had a bum shoulder.
He didn't have a bum shoulder for 4 years.
He did have a bum shoulder till last year.
For 4 years?
He had that shoulder operated on 3 times.
And why did he have a bum shoulder?
I don't know why he had a bum shoulder.
Doing a high five, jumping elbow, and dislocated his shoulder in the playoffs.
Well, that's pretty stupid to do that.
Correct.
What can I tell you?
Again, I'm just saying, this is what you're going to pay him $20 million, and you're banking on that he's just this is what Yankee fans do. It's all rose-colored glasses. And then when 2 weeks into the season, when they're 1 for 25, This team sucks. You sit there and I listen to you bitch about Rizzo for months.
Well, I didn't know he was hurt either.
For him, which is great, but am I
But
wrong?
we also didn't know that he had concussion syndrome either.
Don't you think that's a huge like?
We didn't know that. He didn't know that either.
When you say we, do you mean the fans or the organization?
The fans.
Okay, that's fair because we don't know what's going on behind the scenes at all.
How are we going to know that?
I understand that. But how does the organization not know he has a concussion?
Correct. The organization wouldn't know if he doesn't say anything.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, you do. That's what you pay people for.
That's what you pay training.
That's what you pay. That's why you have 15 trainers on the team.
Well, they have a problem with the
trainers. You just walk around.
I mean,
it's like being a referee in NFL and you're blind. You just walk around. You don't see anything.
I mean, you have trainers out there, and for whatever reason, we get Nestor Cortez injured. We get what's his name, Rodon injured. Michael King got injured last year, and he wasn't. And he came back and looked pretty good this year. But I mean, there's a lot of factors that went into what happened with the Yankees this year. They had a lot of injuries.
They're just not very good.
They've got plenty of talent on that team.
I didn't say anything about talent. They're not a good team. They are not a good team.
They didn't hit this year.
They're not a good team.
I'm not buying that. I think they had a lot of injuries, and I think that if they get themselves another left-handed hitter, that's why I said trade.
You're missing the entire point of why they get injured. They get injured because they're old, unathletic, and slow.
Thank you.
That's why they get injured.
Oh, Judge is
poorly
unathletic?
constructed, and they're not
Judge
a good
unathletic?
team.
Is Judge unathletic?
How many rings has he brought to New York? Let me think.
I don't know. The same number that Harper's brought to Philadelphia. Zero.
How many times have you been to the World Series with Aaron Judge? Zero.
That's because they had to play the Astros, and I didn't see the Phillies beat the Astros.
Zero.
But how can you like
this guy got his toe caught on the fence in Dodger Stadium? He missed 2 months. Don't give me that.
Yeah, he had a dislocated toe.
So
he couldn't.
You can play with it. You can get the other ones. Oh, poor baby. He's so athletic. He's got a bad toe.
Yeah, and Bryce Harper had a little boo-boo in his shoulder, and he couldn't.
Boo-boo in his shoulder.
Now
Tommy John surgery.
And now he doesn't want to have to play. And now he doesn't even want to play center field.
He came back in 6 weeks from Tommy John.
Well, that was pretty dumb. That's why he couldn't hit.
He couldn't hit.
He did hit.
What
are you talking about? He hit 320 all season.
I just
it took a little while to get his power back. Do you watch baseball, Brad? Like seriously, do you watch baseball?
Just videotape this.
Aaron Judge had 37 home runs and missed 50 games. No,
and his team was 30 games out of first place. They didn't play one meaningful game all season long.
That wasn't his fault.
Yes, it is. He's the captain.
Yeah,
make him play better. Make him play better.
When
your captain misses games and then comes back, the day he comes back, he sits 2 more for rest. That just speaks volumes about what's going on in that. They're not a good team.
That's Boone and Cashman. Unfortunately,
that's the player.
No, it's not. He wanted to play every game.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, he does.
Bullshit. If he wanted to play every game, he would play every game.
They don't let him.
Who do you think has more pull there? Did we have this conversation already?
This is
this conversation all the time.
Every time.
You think Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone have more pull than Aaron Judge?
If I can go into Brian Cashman's office,
I think they do.
If I listen,
you're out of your mind.
Stop it.
No, that's not true.
If I can, about that. No, both of you stop talking. If I can go into Brian Cashman's office with Joe Torre as a manager, when the camera guy, I had to cut my cowboy boot off to cut my boot off because my ankle was so swollen. If I can go into Brian Cashman and Joe Torre's office when they're sitting there at the same time saying, I don't care what you guys say, I'm playing in game 1 of the freaking playoffs against CC. Don't give me my ankle. If I can go in there and say that and have it work, Aaron Judge can write him a note. He can text him he's playing. So don't give me that crap.
They're so overprotective.
Don't give me that crap. You can't have it both ways, Brad. You can't have it both ways.
No, that's not true.
Exactly. You can't have it both ways.
They don't. They benched him after playing one game. Then he gets benched twice more.
What are you saving him for?
You got to ask them.
November?
You got to ask guys like Cashman and Boone.
No, I don't have
They're the ones that run the team.
When you're the best player on the team, you think Derek Jeter, when they tried to sit him once a week? Yes. Did it work? No. You're calling him the captain. You gave him more money than you gave any other Yankee.
But he's a great player.
Right.
He's a leader.
Don't give me he wants to play.
He doesn't want to play.
Cashman, you always pass the buck. That's what Yankee fans do. They don't understand.
How can you say that? The guy couldn't walk.
The day after he played a game, you just got.
Oh no! After that, that was Cashman being overprotective.
Or now it's Cashman's fault. It's just past the buck.
It is Cashman's fault.
You wonder why the team has no accountability because it's people like you that they just keep making excuses for players.
No, we don't make excuses for players.
What are you doing?
We know what the problem is with the Yankees right now.
You don't have a captain. You don't have a team. You have a group of individuals. That's it. It's plain and simple.
That's not true. They got the best pitcher in baseball, and they got one of the top.
And you came in last place, Brad. What's that
they didn't come in last place.
Sorry, you came in second to last.
Okay, but they were still over 500, Doug.
Who cares? You think 500 matters in New York?
Well, in the National League, it matters.
It means you fail.
If you're 2 games over 500, it means you missed the playoffs by 1 game.
It means you failed. They're failures because they have zero leadership and they have no captain.
And they have no
leadership.
They had no players healthy last year.
They have no leadership.
So all these old players are just going to magically be going to find the Ponce de Leon, find the fountain of youth,
just
and
make sure you tape this
and more.
6 months from now, he can cry about it again.
I think
Brad, seriously, do you think DJ LeMahieu is going to be any better this year? Hold on. Do you think DJ LeMahieu is going to be any better this year than he was last year?
Yeah, I do.
Giancarlo Stanton. This is why you talk yourself into the Yankees being good. The Yankees aren't going to make the playoffs next year. I don't even need to see an offseason. They are not going to make the playoffs next year.
Well, they will make the playoffs if they make the proper moves.
I don't care if they get Bellinger and Hader. They're not going to make it.
No, they're not going to make it. Bellinger and Hader, they'll be a hell of a lot better than you, especially if they get Yamamoto. They just need one more pitcher to go behind Cole.
I'll bet you any amount of money you want that the Phillies will have more regular season wins than the Yankees next year.
I doubt
whatever you want.
Well, I want to see what the Yankees do in the offseason before I make that bet.
I thought they have a great team. You just told me they're a great team.
According to you, they can just run it back and be healthy, and they'll be great.
The only reason why you weren't good was because you got injured. So which one is it?
They weren't even better than Toronto last year. Toronto sucked.
Toronto was garbage.
And you always have this narrative in your head that the American League is like this world.
It's 100 times better than the National League. The National League blows.
It's not maybe at the bottom.
6 games over 500 and 4 games over 500, and you make the playoffs.
Oh.
Come on, Rob, get real. You know, you're so biased. You wear those rose-colored glasses, and you think that your team is the greatest team.
The only one that's biased is you.
Like Eagle fans, okay? Oh, our team's the greatest team in sliced bread. You've won 2 goddamn world championships in 170 years, and you act like your team is a fucking legend. They haven't done shit. What have they done?
Gone to more World Series than y'all have.
How many more championships?
You haven't been relevant in a decade.
Now you just sound like a Cowboys fan talking about stuff that happened 50, 60, 70 years ago.
You've been irrelevant since 2009.
And they were so bad. They were under 500 10 years in a row.
Since 2009.
And they couldn't even draft one decent player. They had to go out and still buy a team because the farm system was so bad.
It's okay. You've been irrelevant for 2009. It's okay.
Irrelevant? Well, we made the playoffs most of those years too. We were as irrelevant as the Phillies. We made the playoffs every year and didn't win. So what does that prove?
When's the last time you went to the World Series?
Who cares?
No, you asked a question. I answered it. You
just said. And who want to bring back Babe Ruth era?
Who did they beat in the World Series? Oh yeah, that's right. We don't want to talk about.
Sorry, they were going for back-to-back championships.
Who? The Phillies?
Yeah.
Well, the Yankees won 3 in a row. So what's the problem?
You want to go back to the 70s?
4 out of 5. Huh? Let's go back to 2000.
Why are you talking about the 70s?
You just talk about...
We're talking about 98, 99, 2000.
You're talking about from both sides. But those were teams. You don't have a good team. You don't.
We have plenty of talent on the team.
Then you don't need to make any offseason moves.
We need to make
That's
some
not the
offseason
point.
moves because
That's
we
not the
didn't hit
point.
enough.
Yes.
They lost because they didn't hit enough.
The
They
Yankees
lost because they're not a good team.
No, they lost because they didn't hit, and they didn't hit because of their guys were hurt.
They lost because they're not a good
I don't
No,
understand.
they lost because they didn't
I don't
hit.
understand how the guys that were hurt last year that are going to be a year older are going to be healthy.
When's the
I don't
last time
understand that.
Giancarlo
I don't
Stanton
understand
played
that logic.
30 games in a year.
Giancarlo Stanton, I'd like to see them get rid of him, but
I would
won't.
give
They're
him
stuck
away.
with him. They're stuck with him. So,
Because you don't.
but you know what? If they could somehow keep him on the field, then it would be a great help.
Why would he be on the? But why would Giancarlo Stanton be on the?
The same medical staff that doesn't know their star first baseman's concussed.
Well, he's going to obviously he's going to DH.
What does that have to do with the concussion?
Who? We were talking about Stanton. Stanton did
right. You think that medical staff that can't tell their star first baseman's concussed is going to keep Giancarlo Stanton on the field? The guy pulls his calf taking a leak in spring training. How do you think he can stay on the field?
Listen, he could pull a hamstring squatting to take a crap too, but that's not the point. The point is if he can play enough. Listen, Schwarber is no better than Stanton. He does the same thing.
Schwarber's out there every day, dude.
Schwarber sucks.
How does Schwarber suck?
He strikes out 200. Stanton has 1 year where he didn't hit 200 because he was hurt and he couldn't get a stroke. But Schwarber sucks. He's a horrible player. He could never field.
Better hitter than
he could never field. Did he ever hit 59 home runs? Did he ever win an MVP? No. Could he ever field? No. Does he have an arm? No.
We don't know. He's never used it. Giancarlo Stanton doesn't use it because he can't stay on the field.
When he's playing right field, he has a pretty good arm.
Yeah, it's 112 feet from home plate. He better. My son's a senior. He's got a torn ACL. Can throw a ball from the fence in Yankee Stadium to home plate. Come on, man. Stop. You talk about rose-colored glasses. Get this through your head. Your team, you have no team. It's not very good. Your team is just not good.
They're not good because they were hurt.
They have no team. It's not a team. They're not good.
Again, you still haven't explained to me.
Look who had to play last year. They had Willie Calhoun, who stunk, and then they got rid of him. Okay, they had Billy. What the hell is his name? Billy. I can't even remember his name.
What? Hang on. What planet do you live on? Do you think that those guys are going to stay healthy next year?
Why wouldn't they? Well, you think that they're going to get hurt?
That's not in their track record. That's why.
It's not in their track record. Been hurt every year.
He's been hurt every year.
5 years.
He wasn't hurt 2 years ago. He had 39 home runs.
But I thought he was so great. He had 39 home runs.
I mean, that's almost as many as.
And what did that do?
Well, he had 270 that year.
Right. What did that do for your team?
They got to the playoffs. They lost to Houston.
Now we're a different Yankee.
Now you're lowering.
Now we just want to get to the playoffs.
No, we want to win the World Series. That's what the idea is.
No shot.
The guys you have on the team right
now,
you
sure as hell aren't winning a World Series.
That ain't happening.
They have better odds than the Yankees.
Leap years.
Well, you play in a quadruple A league. That's why.
Oh, if you were in the National League Central, you wouldn't have made the playoffs this year.
We would have probably won the National League Central. That division was so bad. Come on. And the National League West,
you have this dream world.
I mean, the Diamondbacks suck.
The Orioles are so overrated.
We destroyed the Diamondbacks. How come the Diamondbacks got their asses kicked?
AL East win this year.
Brandon Pfaadt gave up 3 home runs to Aaron Judge.
How many playoff games did the AL East win this year?
They lost. They lost to the Rangers.
How many games did the AL East win this year in the playoffs?
None.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. What's the only division in baseball that every team in the division has a losing streak in October? Now.
That would be the American League East.
That is correct.
But they also all made the playoffs too. You don't get to play. You don't get to play the Mets. You don't get to play the crappy Mets.
Because the Twins were phenomenal this year. They swept the Blue Jays. Stop it.
Hey, it happens.
Stop it.
It happens.
You know what? We should have a mute button right now.
Sonny Gray pitched out of his mind this year.
You should mute yourself.
And the Twins the Twins had
They
finally
have zero offense. No,
Doug, they had lost 18 in a row, but they finally won a playoff series. I mean, that was bound to happen.
Against the AL East.
Okay,
That
it was
finished ahead
against
of
the
you
AL
guys.
East. And by the way, I was rooting.
You guys aren't good. You need to
I was
blow that thing
I was
up and
rooting
start
for the
over.
Twins to beat the Blue Jays. I can't stand the Blue Jays.
It's not about who you like and who you dislike.
I'm
It's about who has a good team and who doesn't.
Okay. You calling the Diamondbacks a good team? They were 4 games over 500. Or no, were they 6? 4 or 6?
Yeah.
I can't remember. All I know is
They
Brandon
won when it
Stott-
counts. That's one thing the Yankees can't do because they're a good team. They're multi-dimensional.
Oh, they're multi-dimensional. That's why they got their asses kicked in Yankee Stadium. Is that why
Who
Brandon
cares about a
Stott
game
got
in May? No one cares about a game in May.
Fat balls.
Oh,
Three
God,
fat balls to
never mind.
Aaron
Why-
Nola.
Why are you pounding the table about a game in whatever fucking May or June?
Who cares
or something?
about
You
a
sound
game
like an
in
idiot.
May?
It wasn't in May or June. It was in September. So what are you
what?
talking about?
What-
The last weekend of the season.
It's a regular season game.
Some
Meaningless.
meaningless
It wasn't
interleague
meaningless to
game.
It wasn't meaningless to the Diamondbacks. They were fighting to get into the playoffs.
Oh,
It was the end of the season. They were fighting to get into the playoffs. They hadn't clinched a playoff spot.
oh. And you were clinching last place.
No, the Yankees were out there just playing. I mean, unfortunately, they had a bad season. A lot of bad stuff happened to them. They bring up a young kid who tears it up and then gets a torn what do you call it, rotator cuff,
Okay.
or whatever it is that happens to Dominguez. That's just bad luck.
Mm-hmm. Bad training stuff.
Oh, bad luck.
Mm.
I mean, he throws a ball from center field and he gets hurt. What are you going to do? That's I don't know.
But Jason Dominguez was only up because the Yankees were out of it.
Right.
Yeah, and he was very, very good.
Right.
They gave him a chance to play, and he was playing very well.
He was
maybe they should. Maybe if the Yankees knew their ass from their elbow when it came to assembling a team, which is what me and Doug have been trying to tell you, Jason Dominguez would have been up way sooner, and they would have actually had a chance to play.
He would have been completely exposed like every other rookie gets. It's just the reality of it. He'll get exposed like they all do.
He can hit a fastball. He can hit anybody's fastball.
Everybody that gets called up can. Everybody can hit a fastball. My good gracious.
By the way, do you know who his first home run was against? Or maybe you don't remember, but it happened to be against Verlander.
Good for him. Yeah.
Letting you know.
Yeah.
You're number 98. No one gives a crap. You caught up. And
Doug, we're losing.
We're losing you.
We're losing Doug. He's blaring in and out. Like
what?
There we go. Nope. I lost you for a second there.
Fine to me.
Okay, you're good. You're back.
You're good. You're back. Okay, you can keep yelling at me. Go ahead.
No, I'm not yelling anymore. I'm laughing.
I'm over it because you're just so like.
I'm telling you,
I think that my favorite part of that was I have
Bellinger and Hader, and
you get every move. You get every move you want. I promise you, there still won't be one person that picks you.
You say I have, and this is what Yankees fans do all the time. They think they're going to get every free agent.
Mm-hmm. You don't?
I want one guy. I want one guy. I want Josh Hader, and I want to not trade Nick Castellanos, and I want to re-sign my own guy in Aaron Nola.
Okay.
And then all I need to go to the World Series next year is for my fucking $200 million lineup not to be up at the plate with samurais. They might as well be out there with samurai swords in Game 6 and Game 7. They completely went ice cold at the wrong time.
It happened.
Look, it happens. It happens.
It happens. I get it. It's frustrating and it pissed me off a lot. But all I need is one of those guys. All I need is one of those guys to step up and get a big hit, and the Phillies are going to the World Series. And you want to tell me the Yankees are closer to win a championship than the Phillies? You're out of your fucking mind.
Be happy you didn't have to play the Rangers because they would have massacred you the same way they massacred the pathetic Diamondbacks.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
No, I think so.
Well, if the Phillies bats weren't ice cold and they could actually hit the ball for a change, like who knows? Offense plays. Like
of course it does.
Like I don't think
offense is the reason. Offense is the reason the Yankees. Offense is the reason the Yankees couldn't win last year. They couldn't hit. because they had guys like Billy McKinney on the team, and they had guys like Willie Calhoun on the team because they had guys injured, and they also made a couple of really dumb trades.
And they couldn't.
Shit happens.
But like, you want to sit here and tell me that the Yankees are more going to have a better chance to win a championship next year than the Phillies? You like every guy. This guy sucks. That guy sucks. This was a bad trade. That was a bad move, and that's going to get all fixed in one offseason, and you're going to be as good as the Phillies.
I don't think they're that far away, Rob. They're not that far away. I got
news for you.
If you make those 3 moves you want to make, you'll finish third at best.
Third.
Maybe you get a wild card.
Maybe.
Well, wild card seems to be good enough for you. That's all you ever do. When was the last time you won a division?
I'll take a wild card. I'll take a playoff appearance. I'll take a wild card appearance. I don't care if you make the wild card.
When was the last time you're talking about maybe you can make a wild card? When was the last time you won a division? 2009?
We made the wild card.
If the Yankees make the wild card,
your head's spinning, bro. Your head's spinning. You don't even know what you're saying.
If the Yankees make the wild card,
we're right.
They have a chance to beat anybody.
No, they don't, because they only have one arm.
Well, not if they get some pitching. Not if they're
you need to sign every free agent under the sun for your team to have a shot to maybe get a wild card.
Not every free agent under the sun. You know what? The Orioles were really good last year, and heaven forbid if they get one of those pitchers, they're going to be even better. I respect what they did.
They were really good because you guys were so bad. That's why they were good.
Who, the Orioles?
Yes, and same with the Red Sox. And same. What team did they play in their division? That's really scary.
Brad has this delusion that the AL East is like the 04 AL East that you played in.
It's better than your division.
No, it's not.
There's no garbage teams. There's no garbage teams in the AL East. There's 2 garbage teams in the NL East, though. You're going to compare the Yankees and Red Sox to the Mets and Washington?
The Marlins? The Marlins have better arms. The Marlins have better arms than anybody in that AL East.
They have better arms?
Fact.
Yes.
That's a fact. That's
a
game in
the AL East.
Is what's his name going to be pitching this year? Alcantara?
I'm talking about last year.
You can take Sandy Alcantara out of it. Their staff is still better than any staff in the AL East.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. It's not.
Do you watch baseball?
Yeah, I watch baseball. Tampa Bay has a better pitching staff than them.
I don't even think the point can be argued. That you're wrong.
No, you're wrong. You don't watch any American League baseball. You watch the minor league. You watch the minor leagues all the time, Rob. You watch the National League and you watch the Pittsburgh Pirates. Let's see some of the other great teams in the National League.
There's no Royals or Oakland A's in the American League. There's
great.
The Colorado and the Colorado Rockies. Yeah, they're just wonderful.
Right.
The Giants almost finished
the Angels. The Angels. Let me tell you, they're a great team.
Mike Trout.
Huh? They're better than them.
Why don't you guys go get Mike Trout so you guys can all stay on the deal?
No, we don't want Mike Trout because he makes $400 million and he's going to get hurt again.
That sounds like your whole club.
No, I don't think
sounds like he'll fit right in, Brad.
So exactly the guy you go after.
That's all I've been hearing from you guys is, we're going to get Mike Trout for Nick
Not
Castellanos.
from me. Not from educated Philadelphia sports fans like me. I wouldn't touch Mike Trout with a 10-foot pole. I don't care that he has season tickets to the Philadelphia Eagles. He makes too much money. He's always hurt.
I wouldn't want him anyway. There's
no spot for him in Philadelphia because they're not going to trade Nick Castellanos. They're going to re-sign Aaron Nola. I would even re-sign Rhys Hoskins.
And where is he going to play?
I'm putting Harper
now plays. Harper plays first base. So you're going to put
Hoskins that's not what I would do with Harper. No, I would put Harper in left.
Well, they want to put him in left. They're going to have him play first base. That's what I just read.
They are going to have him play first base. I don't agree with that
at all. I think they should put him in left field and play Hoskins at first. But that's not what they want to. What are they going to do? Put Hoskins in left or Schwarber in left?
Hoskins is out if Harper's playing first.
Yeah, he's out.
Yeah, he's got to be out
because Schwarber is got to be the DH. Maybe you can mix him in if Nick needs a day off or something and play outfield, but you have Rojas and Pache that are plus defenders as well out there.
Well,
like I said about Samurai Sports, Rojas needs to learn how to put the ball in play at least and use his speed.
At least on a bunt or something, because that was atrocious.
Well, he's got to start hitting the ball on the ground.
Like I need one guy. I need one guy to put me over the top in Philadelphia, and that's Josh Hader.
I think you need two, but that's my opinion. I think you need more than Hader. I think you need another relief pitcher as well.
Well, I mean, like,
and you need two.
It doesn't have to be a closer.
Yeah, you need two.
Don't need a starter. They have Andrew Painter, who's going to come back from Tommy John, hopefully, and be the fifth starter. If not, they have Christopher Sanchez, Taijuan Walker, and that fifth starter role.
The fifth starter is kind of insignificant anyway. We're talking about the top four.
Right. You have hopefully Nola.
Well, you have to wait. You have to wait and see.
Rangers Suarez.
Everybody right now. Everybody is kind of in limbo because we don't know who's going to be your second pitcher. If the Cubs go in, I've heard the Cubs are ready to offer Nola like $180 million. So that's what I'm saying.
That's what he's gonna get. That's what guys get on the open market.
I know, but I'm just saying if they're gonna be paying him 6 years, $30 million a year, are the Phillies gonna pay him that? I'm just asking you. I don't know that they're gonna do that.
I don't care.
Maybe they might be better off.
Give him $40 million a year. I don't care. It's not my money.
Yeah, I know that, but they
already charged me. They already charged me for my season tickets next year, so they can't up the price on me. I bought them this morning. So whatever.
Rob, the Yankees
35, 40. I want the player. I want the player to win now.
I agree, but they may decide not to bring him back. If that's the case,
then you know what? If that, I would be disappointed because I think he's a way better pitcher than the city gives him credit for.
But you could also get a guy like Montgomery, and you could also get a guy like Sonny Gray to be your second and third pitcher.
Significant downgrade compared to Aaron Nola, in my opinion.
Sonny Gray came in second in the American. Is going to come in second in the American League.
That's fantastic. He's 34 years old, 35 years old.
True, but you won't have to spend a lot of money on him.
3 years younger. Sonny Gray, he's not gonna get the years that Nola's gonna get, but he's gonna get the AAV.
He'll get Sonny Gray will probably get, I'm thinking 4 years, $100 million.
You don't think Sonny Gray's gonna get $20 million a year after that season?
No, I've said 4 years, $100 million.
The Yankees need to upgrade their catching. That's what they need to do.
Well, they've got a catcher.
Like I said, they need to upgrade their catching.
They got a catcher. Wells, that kid was really good. I don't know how much you guys saw him play, but he was really good when he came up last year.
Now you're going to talk about September, which is fake service time.
With the power to left, but hitting a home run over the left center field wall in Yankee Stadium as a left-handed hitter
against other AAA guys.
He did it against Arizona, by the way. Just wanted to let you know.
You talk about one.
Now you're like fixated that like Aaron Judge hit 3 home runs against the Diamondbacks in September.
Right. Ooh, the
Yankees are close. Like whoa,
the catcher was pretty good.
Right. So how many 24-year-old catchers win championships?
We'll see what happens next year. They also have a platinum glove catcher who was injured last year, and hopefully he'll come back. That was bad luck too. Jose, whatever the hell, Trevino. He won a platinum glove 2 years ago.
That's all fake.
It's fake?
Yeah, that's all fake.
Platinum glove means he was the best catcher in baseball.
I know what it means. I have a gold one on my fucking wall.
I know. You were the best defensive first baseman in baseball. We know that.
Make up shit to give trophies away now. We got a platinum glove. We gave one. Hang on a second. They gave one to Tatis, for Christ's sake.
Fernando, the old one or the one now?
The young one. They get. My point is, you get busted for steroids, and then you turn around and give them an award the next year. Like I just don't. What? That's how jacked up this league is now.
What the heck is a platinum glove? Never heard of it in my life. And I'm
platinum glove is there's a gold glove and there's the gold glove and the platinum. The platinum glove is for the one who's the best defensive player in both leagues.
Oh, okay. I didn't
Jose Trevino won a platinum glove. I mean, I'm just saying the guy's a very good catcher. He's not a great hitter, but he's a very good catcher. And the kid Wells was absolutely
right, and a whole
19 games played. I understand that. I understand that, but Doug, guy hit a home run to left center field in Yankee Stadium as a left-handed batter. That's impressive, Doug. Come on, that's you know that's a long hit. That's a lot of power for a left-handed batter.
Yeah. It happened one time. You know how many people in the big leagues can do that? How many people in AAA that can do that?
Left-handed batters hitting a home run to left center field.
Yes.
In Yankee Stadium.
One swing doesn't make a man. One swing.
No, but he hit a few home runs last year. He looked pretty darn good.
Yeah, he hit one against the Royals.
Both him and Dominguez both look really good last year.
I can get 3 hits against the Royals.
It was against the Diamondbacks though, so like
it was against the Diamondbacks actually.
One against Kansas City, one against Toronto, and one against Arizona. And 19 games played. Now you're going to hand him the job.
What's this guy's name again?
Austin Wells.
So when Wells goes 3 for 33 to start the season next year,
right. So we're gonna hear the same thing. That's why I say
what happens when he goes 9 for 15 to start the season?
Tape this. So when he's bagging on Rizzo in April and he's ripping on Giancarlo Stanton and Garrett Cole stinks and how it's all Brian Cashman's fault. Let's replay this.
No, we can blame Brian Cashman for a lot of things because he's made some really bad trades.
Yeah, the team stinks.
And who puts the team together?
The owner, actually.
The GM. The owner is the problem because the owner doesn't get involved enough. That is the problem with the Yankees right now.
The problem with the Yankees, they have no leadership.
Well, they need another general manager.
No,
they need a better general manager. They need their
captain to step up and act like one.
They need a general manager who's not afraid to make a trade.
Looking at 19 games back, you got to have something to trade. You can't just make a trade if you have nothing to give them.
They got young players in their farm system.
Why? Because you read it on Baseball America? That doesn't. Trust me. We had this conversation over and over again. Trust me.
Where did Anthony Volpe come from?
Right, he's a 200 hitting shortstop. That's
also won a Gold Glove.
He hit 200.
He also hit over 20 home runs.
He hit 200
RBIs.
And your team was 20 games back.
And he stole over 20 bases. Back. That wasn't his fault.
Oh, if you keep going down the list, there's got to be whose fault is it?
Whose fault is it? Stanton having a horrible season. Judge missing 54 games. Not having Nestor Cortez, not having Carlos Rodon.
Make a playoff run when their shortstop sits 200. I'll wait.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
How many teams make a long playoff run when their shortstop hits 200?
I don't know. I don't really pay that much attention to it. There's plenty of teams who've won with shortstops who don't hit that high for an average. He hit a lot of home runs, though. I mean,
because those really matter. It really pushed you over the top for 20 games back. You're 20 games back. You're 20 games back.
Right, but it wasn't because of him that they were 20 games back. If it wasn't for him, it may have been worse.
Yeah, but see, okay, keep going. This one guy. You don't think the guy that blew his elbow out? That guy? Like, I've been saying this for decades. For 25 years. For 25 years, the Yankees have been hyping up their prospects. And how many of them really pan out? I'll wait.
I'm
serious. Like, playing against them, you're like, this guy.
What would you call? Let me ask you a question. What do you call Gleyber Torres?
Okay, he's 26. Has he reached his potential yet? I don't think so.
Well, he had 25 home runs this year.
Ricky Leday was supposed to be Mickey Mantle.
Who?
Ricky Leday was hyped up to be Mickey Mantle. Ricky
Leday. Yeah, Ricky Leday again. No, they had
Shane Spencer was hyped up to be.
Shane Spencer was
supposed to be.
He was a hype machine.
That didn't.
The hype machine was. Listen, when he came up.
What about the one? What's
rocking and rolling on Shane Spencer?
The guy that went to the Giants that doesn't know how to run the bases. Ruben. What the hell was his name? The kid that screwed up the bases
Rivera?
2 times. Yeah, he was supposed to be. I mean, he was supposed to be the best player to ever put spikes on. He was garbage. That's all they do is hype up their prospects. And they do a fantastic job at it because that's what you're supposed to do, to be able to pull off these trades. but you can't pull off trades if you don't have substance. And as a manager in the minor leagues for the last 10 years, there's been a few. There hasn't been many. They hyped up Gary Sanchez to be the next Gary Carter.
Gary Sanchez hit for a while, but unfortunately,
he can't catch.
No, he couldn't catch. He never could.
Yeah, he can run into home run. He can run into the ball. Well, there's a billion of those guys down in the minor leagues. There's a billion of those guys who can actually.
Gary Sanchez is gone, but Gary Sanchez, when he first came up, was a big time hitter.
For 1 year, doesn't make your career.
No, he hit it. No, for 3 years. For 3 years, he was hitting the ball. He hit 30 home runs twice.
Okay,
with the Yankees, and he didn't hit 210 either. He was hitting for a much better average. I don't know what happened to Gary Sanchez, other than the fact that maybe he wasn't working hard enough.
Overhyped their guys. That's my point.
Well,
Trust
his
me,
value.
I watched it. I was in they were in our division. They were in our league every year I managed.
So the problem with Gary Sanchez was
you're missing the point.
No, but I'm just telling you, the problem with Gary Sanchez is his value was that you could get 30 home runs out of a catcher. The problem is he was so bad. He was so bad defensively, you couldn't use him. That was the problem.
We ran all over him in A ball because he couldn't catch the ball.
Yeah, we know that. We saw that.
Right.
We saw that.
And that tells you exactly like there's a reason why you couldn't trade him because no one wanted him.
Minnesota won for whatever reason, but then
because they
could get rid of Donaldson.
They're the king of taking a chance on somebody when their stock is low, and if they buy low, sell high. That's what some teams have to do. The Yankees, they're the notorious for getting everybody when they're past their prime. Past their prime.
Well, I could tell you a guy that they got when they got that nobody knew about that ended up being really good for a couple of years and then he fizzled out, and that was Luke Voit.
Where's Luke Voit now? You're talking about a couple of years. You know how many people in the league can have a good couple of years?
No, I'm just saying though.
You need to get if you're a legit prospect, you have a career.
He wasn't a real legit prospect.
I'm just talking in general.
They picked him up.
This is what I'm asking you. When's the last guy they brought up, more than one, that's had a career? That's been hyped up to the max, that's had a career. Not a flash in the pan.
Probably Gleyber Torres.
Gleyber, yes, that's it. Aaron Judge. Who's going to miss?
Aaron Judge was 2014. That was a lot. That was too low.
That still counts. But, I mean, who's going to miss on a 6'8" outfielder? Like, he's 6'8".
Yeah.
It's hard to miss him. You can't miss him.
Well, I think a lot of teams missed him because they thought he was going to be a football player.
A lot of teams missed him because most guys that are 6'8" can't play baseball.
Well, the whole thing was he played football at Fresno State, and they thought that he was going to be a football player, not a baseball player.
Again,
the Yankees took a chance.
Trust me, in draft rooms, the size of a guy that's 6'8" is alarming because most guys can't hack it because their arms are long and they have long swings and they can't handle. They don't have the small twitch stuff. That was my biggest thing about watching Aaron Judge was the fact that he was 6'8" and he played baseball like he wasn't 6'8". The power was there like he was 6'8", but he had baseball mannerisms that you're like, that's not – he's a 5'11", 6-foot guy and a guy that's 6'8" with those movements.
But there are guys that can do that. Dave Winfield could do it.
Well, yeah, but you're talking about – yeah, I know, but there's like on average, they don't work. It doesn't work that way. Like a lot of guys that are tall have a hard time playing baseball. They really do. Because they're on
no. I don't disagree with you, but I mean,
Dave Winfield was a generational.
You'd know better than that. Than
I'm just saying, like that's why you have to have a system that, like, trust me, like the days of them sneaking guys through are over. Like guys know, like there's a reason why a lot of teams don't want them. Like the reason why this goes back to. It's not really me sticking up for Cashman, but it's giving you like insight. Like there's a reason why those deals weren't made because like people are like, no, I'm not giving you my best guy for your overhyped flash in the pan so-called prospect who you guys keep are glaringly so great that they're not. Like, to me, I can't miss prospects or when you pull off deals for the echelon guys that are going to make a difference, right? When you're talking about, to me, if you're trading for DeGrom with the Mets, you need a bona fide can't miss, right? Like, that's like they're not.
Well, the Mets and Yankees for years they were talking about that, and the
Mets always wanted one-dimensional.
The Mets always wanted Gleyber Torres. So
right, the Yankees has talent to do both.
Yeah, and the Yankees didn't, and the Yankees wouldn't do it because they wouldn't trade Gleyber Torres.
Right, but the point is, they don't have enough of those guys. That's what I'm saying. Like, their system isn't all it's not as great as people make it out to be. Even it hasn't been for a long time. Yes, have they had the core four? Absolutely, but after that, the guys that I was thinking about, I played against Shane Spencer, and I was like, damn, he's really good. He's a really good player. But they're hyping him up to be Mark McGwire. I'm like, average.
Well, the reason they did that is because he hit how many home runs did he hit that one September?
Yeah, again.
But Doug, that year they were so good that he went and he hit home runs against Texas.
I'll give you a name in the play, Shelley Duncan. Everybody was loving life about that.
He's a legend, yeah.
Right, he's a legend because he hit for 1 year. That happens a lot.
And he hit and his home runs.
I'll give you another one for the Mets, Mike Jacobs.
Yeah,
that's not a career.
We have
good years. A lot of guys have good years.
Shelley Duncan had a couple of
Ben Grieve had a great year and was never heard from again. To me, when you trade guys like that, you're going after, and there's no such thing as a can't miss. There's no such thing. There's a few of them, obviously, but you're not going to get a Bryce Harper out of someone's system. You're just not, because they're those guys are different. But the good, there's still good. It's not everything's a crapshoot, right? But yet, people forget about the Rangers. They had the 4th pick in the draft, and they got a kid who's pretty much knocking on the door to be a big leaguer now. You throw that kid in left along with the rookie they already had out there, holy moly! And then the right fielder,
Garcia, yeah.
Holy moly! They're just getting started.
No, I know that. I know that. Listen, the only thing you got with the Rangers they have to wonder about is that their pitching is not young. But they're good, though. They're really good.
They have a window, and they're going for it.
Yeah, they should. They got a great team right now.
And that's the reality of it. You got to compare yourself to what the leader of your league now.
But we're not in their class right now.
And that's what I'm
not saying they are right now.
That's the hard part about being a big market team. When you're stuck with these guys, you're stuck. No one's going to trade for Stanton unless you eat majority of the pay, unless you eat most of his contract, right?
I kind of figured if they were to trade Stanton, I think he's got 4 years, $98 million left.
They would
probably have to eat
$70 million of it.
Half.
Yeah. No, I was thinking
half.
Somebody
70. I would say 70. If I'm a GM, I'm like, you give me $70 million, I'll take him.
Yeah, because I'm thinking that a team that would take him wouldn't pay more than $6 million a year for him.
Correct.
So 24 minus 98 is 74. Yeah, okay, that's true.
And that's kind of how you. That's and trust
me.
Don't get me wrong.
That's also very.
Stanton is healthy the entire year. He's going to put up numbers. He's too gifted not to. Right, but
the only team I could see him going to, and this is if Ohtani doesn't get signed by the Angels. Maybe the Angels would take him if the Yankees gave him the $74 million. Maybe, I don't know.
That's another one. Where does he go?
Ohtani, I think he's going to go to the Dodgers.
I don't know. The Cubs are
supposed to the Mariners, though. Ooh.
No, Atlanta's in on Nola. Atlanta's in on Ohtani. I think Boston's going to be in on Ohtani.
I think Atlanta's in on Nola. Oh, Atlanta's in on Nola to jack his price up to keep him going back to Philly. That's the game you play.
How can Atlanta afford him? Chicago could afford him.
Yeah.
St. Louis could afford him.
I think Ohtani's going to the Cubs.
I'd be very surprised. I think he's going to stay out west because he had a chance to do that the first time.
He says the geography doesn't matter to him.
Well, it doesn't. He's already 18 hours from home. Well, what's a couple more hours? What's a couple more hours after that?
Listen. He didn't want to come to the East Coast. He made that very clear.
Oh, I wouldn't think he'd want to come straight there.
No, he's not gonna. He doesn't want to go to the Yankees or the Red Sox or any of the or Baltimore.
No, because if he comes there and he can't handle it, he's going to get crucified. Now he went to the Angels. He stayed under the radar and he proved that he's a terrific player. Now he can go to the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Cubs or wherever, and he's going to get a huge amount of rope.
Yeah.
And then he's got the injury on top of it.
Right. So he's not going to pitch next year. He's probably not going to be able to hit till what, June, July?
That's my point. Like, what do you do?
I don't know. This medicine is wild these days.
How do you attack his negotiations? Like, how do you, like, if you're a team, right, and you're one of the 5 that's going to take a run on him, what do you say to him? Like, how do you can't really word it the way you want to, but you have to be able to protect yourself. Because, like, what happens, again, if say he doesn't blow his elbow out and he's totally healthy, right? You have to put something. If I'm a team and I'm a GM going, look, here's your contract, but if you decide that you don't want to pitch anymore, like, this is what you're going to get. And that's the only way you can. It's the only way you can construct it, because you're not going to pay a guy. You're paying him to be the elite pitcher that he is, and you're paying him to be the elite hitter that he is. You take half of that out of the equation, no one's going to pay their DH $60 million a year.
No, but you know what? He could probably learn to play another position, though. He's a great athlete.
But my point is, you're not giving him $60 million a year.
No,
to be a pitcher.
I agree. No, you're giving him
one or the other.
You're
giving him $60 million because he's got to do both.
Right.
And if he decides 2 years, 3 years down the road, he's not going to be both.
Or if he's just not. What happens if he's not? What happens if he's not effective as a pitcher anymore?
Well, I said it. I said it 2 years ago. I'd make him a closer. I'd make him a closer. Make him a closer.
How do you maneuver that from a manager standpoint? You just DH him, then you can just switch him? Mm-hmm. Is that okay? I mean, yeah, if you can do that, you can have him be the seventh, eighth inning guy.
Here's a question for you though. With him, suppose he played first base on days so that he didn't pitch.
A lot of throwing still. It's not just your arm; it's your legs. It's a lot of moving. You're diving. You're getting collision. There's all kinds of stuff. True. Like that's what's more impressive than anything else. The fact that he's pitching, he's starting, getting his work in to be a starter, and then by the way, I'm going in the cage and getting my swing ready to go, and I'm amping it up every day.
Yeah.
Like that's like, but I just don't know how long he can do it. I mean, who puts anything past him? He can probably do anything.
I've always kind of thought he's going to have to pick, one avenue or the other.
Well, that's why if you take the workload off of him, like as a reliever, that's more like you're playing like high school baseball as a grown man, or college ball. I'm going to hit, and then all of a sudden, I'll come in and fire some babies out of here.
That's what.
But then if your arm is sore, you don't have to pitch, right?
But that's what I'm wondering, Doug. Like, just for the sake of argument, okay? Let's say he plays first base or left field, okay? And he's a relief pitcher, okay? Could he, in theory, go in, pitch to one guy, then go back to left field, and then come in the next inning and pitch to another guy?
I don't know how that rule works, but yeah. I mean, I joked around. It's funny, Joe Madden beat me to the punch one time because I literally was thinking about that in the minor leagues. I literally thought about taking one of my relievers, pitching a dude, go make him stand in left, bring in a lefty. When he's out, switch him, put him back in left, bring the righty back in, and then bring. You know what I'm saying? I could keep him in the game. Yeah, I could throw him back and forth 2 times.
Is that legal?
It is legal. I don't see how is it not legal.
Why would I don't see a problem with it?
Because you can start a game. I did it in high school. I got 2 losses in the same game. I'll never forget this. I threw the first inning. My coach wanted me to intentionally walk the best hitter in our area. Bases loaded. I said, "You're nuts." Gave up a granny. Went and played first. Actually played third. our team came back and took the lead in the 6th, 9-7. I came back in to close it out in the 7th, and I came up with 3-run homer. We lost. So I got 2 losses in the same game. So it can't happen. I remember that. Like I was saying, my dad was like, "Man, you really screwed that up twice." I said, "Yeah, I did. I really did. I really did."
Last thing before we go, I did want to get your thoughts, Doug and Brad, on the new manager hires. Francona being out in Cleveland, Stephen Voigt, who played in the majors last year. He's going to be a manager. What is it with the catchers and the manager?
I get that part of it because you're thinking all the time. I thought they'd give it DeMarlo Hale. I really did. The guy that's been on this bench. DeMarlo's been like overlooked forever, and it's a shame because I played against him all the way up. He was a Red Sox minor league manager when I was a Twin. He's been everywhere. He's going back to Toronto now to be, they call it the associated manager, the assistant manager to Snyder in Toronto. I think that's a great move for Toronto. I guess it goes back to the old adage, man. It's about who you know. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And I'm not saying he can't do a good job. That's not it. But today's hires, man, you just don't know, like, is it because he's controllable? He's young. The guy with the Mets, like, how do you go from Buck Showalter to that guy? I just don't get it. Doesn't make any sense.
To Carlos Mendoza.
No disrespect to Mendoza. That's not it at all. It's just, how do you go from Buck Showalter to that guy? And then
I mean, you knew Buck was going to.
Yeah, but
showed the door. I mean, that was pretty obvious.
Spada, Ron Washington,
Ron Washington used to manage the Rangers a long time ago, didn't he?
Yeah, he's the one that, he gagged up the World Series that one year by putting Nelson Cruz in right field.
Right. Yeah. Well, Nelson.
What do you think of that? So you don't like that?
He got into trouble with some stuff off the field. So
yes, he did. He had a little problem.
Ron's a great man. Don't get me wrong. Like, he's as good as it gets. He works. He's a workaholic. He's one of the best infield guys going, one of the best defensive guys going, and one of the greatest baseball minds ever. But like, I don't know. Like, I was hoping to give it to Torrey. I don't think Torrey wanted it. Torrey Hunter was in the mix for that job. I just don't think he wants it quite yet. But
I think he'd be a good manager. I
just don't know
he was a really good player, and
I don't know what these guys are thinking. Like, I don't know. Like, you go from Mike Scioscia to Joe Madden to Phil Nevin to Ron Washington. It's like, I started to see a trend here. Like, you went through every gamut of personalities you could possibly fathom, and then the Mets. Like, you go from Buck Showalter, who, if Buck's trend keeps going, the Mets will be in the World Series this year, because every time he leaves somewhere, the next year they end up winning. They end up getting there, if not winning the whole thing. So, I honestly don't.
Yeah, that's happened 3 times with him, hasn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I just don't know. Maybe the Mets are going young, and that's, I don't know. Like, to me, if you're going to go young with your own farm people, you hire within. You hire one of the minor league guys. Like, I'm not patting myself on the back, but that's why I thought in 2013 it was a perfect storm for me. I've had those kids since they were drafted.
Right.
And I had them all the way up. No one knows them better than I do. And I know the big leagues, and I know what the hurdles they're about to get punched in the face with. And just hang on, have patience. They'll get it right. And by the time all that happens, we got the perfect storm. Look at Steinecker. He's the same way in Atlanta. He's been a minor league guy forever, right? He knows the system, knows all the guys. It worked out for them. So I just, I just don't know. It's like,
I think they made a mistake not hiring you personally. Based on how much you know about baseball, I mean.
It's not so much baseball as I knew those guys. I knew that group, and I knew how to make them work. And I knew where they were going to be short, and I knew where they're going to be. Like, I was just excited to have a chance to kind of like see this is why I was hard on them, and now they understand why. And I just felt like that was my group, and like it was the perfect. It's the book that never had the ending that we'll never know. That's what's hard to swallow for me.
And then the last one.
I think you would have been good.
The last one of note, Craig Campbell. Bob Melvin goes from the Padres to the manager. I guess the Padres couldn't.
They're just bank. They get no money left.
Afford to pay him. I don't know what they're going to do.
How
But
much money did they borrow?
50.
And don't get me wrong. And like the last thing we'll say about the Cubs thing, like, how do you like? So you fired David Ross, like what? As Rossi's walking out, Council's walking in. Like, how's that? Like, how's that transaction work? Like, hey, you're our manager, but there's one guy out there that we're gonna, if we do get, we're, this is awkward. Like, hey.
I mean, is Council that good a manager that it really?
We'll find out. We'll find out. To do what he's done in Milwaukee, like it's pretty crazy. My only thing is like, yes, I'm trust me, no one's more happy to see managers making money finally. But like, damn, like how do you feel if you're Bruce Bochy? Like, what are you making? Yeah, damn, I've won 4 of these damn things. Like this guy's gotten a team to the playoffs twice, and now you're paying him, $40 million. It's just like it's kind of strange to me. It's a little odd, but I hope it works out for him because I always pull for the guys like that because, like I said, I always said this, and I said this in my interview too, with like not to get personal, but ask the difference between Molitor and I was like, well, I've been the 25th man on a roster before. Like I've been the 3-hole hitter of a team. I've also been the 25th guy on the roster. I know what it feels like to be one or the other and somewhere in the middle. Paul's never felt like to be the 25th man on a roster before. Like my point of that is that 25th guy is just as important as the 3-hole guy. And I have to keep him engaged and keep him feeling that you're still a part of this and you're still a big part of this. And I can't lose you. So like being able to know your heartbeat of the whole entire group, there's something to be said about that, and Council knows that. He's been a starter. The World Series, the Marlins team was, and he's also been the utility guy. So he knows the importance of everybody on that team, and that goes without saying. That goes a long way, and that's why I usually see catchers or backup catchers be really good managers because they understand that.
He was a shortstop or a second baseman. I can't.
He was a utility guy, so he played short, played second. Renteria played short on that team. In 97, I think he played second.
He played second then, yeah, because Renteria was a shortstop.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, what goes on in the next few months, baseball-wise. That's for sure.
All right, we got to get out of here. Rivals coming up next, 10 o'clock. Thank you, everyone who liked, subscribed, shared our show, commented on our show. For Doug Mankiewicz, Brad Ryer, I'm Rob Brinkman. Until next Monday, peace out, everybody.